Okay, afternoon Caponorders and other people of interest. This is a factual video and walk around of how to bomb-proof your Aprilia Caponord ETV 1000 in the year 2026. So if you want to keep this bike running problem-free and enjoy it for how it's meant to be enjoyed, these are the things that you need to be addressing now to keep it on the road and obviously stop it breaking down. So we will start with the top of the bike. So sometimes the Speedo has problems. So on the dashboard there's various components, one being a capacitor that is powered all the time, even when you put your bike to bed. And it's basically keeping the clock running. So that seems to be quite a common thing, and it can burn out. A simple fix for this is either repair the capacitor when it goes pop, or to buy some extra time, if you pull the fuses in the back which power the clock, that will give you your rest period. When you shut your bike down for the winter, it won't be powering it. Obviously your clock will be dead, zeroed, so you'd have to reset your clock. But if you're only riding 6 months a year and you are then laying it up for 6 months, that's kind of giving you quite a bit considerable less time of using that capacitor. So that's one thing, the clocks. Doesn't happen to everybody. It happened to me at 20 odd thousand. Mine's a 2003, happened a couple of years ago, and I successfully repaired mine. So the clock's up front. Coming down from the clocks, there's not a lot else. We'll come to the airbox. Obviously, good maintenance is to clean the airbox out and to change the filter. It's only about a £15 part, but the rear cylinder breathes the blow-by gases, oil and gases, up here into the airbox, and it kind of puts it in a way, it just spills out, runs, contaminates the filter, the air filter, and then can contaminate this air valve here which controls your idle. So if that gums up, that's really quite expensive to replace or repair. There are other car makes that will fit it, but what I did with mine, instead of running it straight to the airbox, I ran it to an external catch can on the side of the bike, low down, so it catches all the oil, and then rerouted back to the box, and now I can run my oil level reasonably good, halfway between max and min, and I don't get any contamination in there. While we're on the airbox, these little plastic vacuum hoses and these T-fittings, especially those ones that run for the vacuum gauges, they go brittle. They can all go brittle. The ones that go down to the one-way valve for the clutch, they can all go brittle. And I'll show you what a brittle. So this is a hard one that I've taken off, and it is really quite hard. You can see this is a bigger one, but it's hard. I think this was a fuel hose, this one, but it's rock hard. Aprilia have stated in their manuals that the fuel hoses should be changed every 4 years. Do we? Anyway, that's one thing. Fuel hoses, okay. Fuel tank, let's talk about it. Inside the fuel tank, you've got your high pressure fuel pump, 2 filters, teabag strainer, and a filter that looks like this. These can get blocked up, and if anybody was interested in the filter number, there it be. So these filters and the hoses, like the one I've shown you, the hoses can become brittle, split, pop off the connections. The filters can block, sediment in the tank, ethanol in the tank, which obviously is another problem that makes the tank swell. So it's always a good idea, if you're not using your bike for a long period, drain the fuel out or put an additive in. I'd say drain it out and leave the fuel cap open to vent. So the filters and the hoses need changing in the tank. You will be getting problems now if you've not done it. So especially with the ethanol in the fuel in the UK, we're up to 10% in the cheaper fuels and 5% in the better fuels. So yeah, fuel tank service is a must. Okay, coming down from there, throttle bodies, pretty reliable. The only thing that sometimes goes is the flanges. Sometimes crack. I'm on the wrong side to show you the flanges, but there you go. There's the flanges down here where they bolt onto the cylinder head. They sometimes crack. They need to be looked after. They're quite expensive to get second hand. The valves. Okay, so the valve covers are going to start weeping now. Lots of temperature cycles, so it'll be good to change them. And also, obviously, underneath here we've got the valves, shim and bucket valves. I think Aprilia say roughly 10,000 miles to change, not change, check and adjust. I've done what, 1, 2, maybe 4 bikes now, and I've had to adjust 2 out of 4. Always seems to be the inlet side where the cam wheel is, corresponding cylinders. So yeah, a lot of people say don't bother. I'd say bother, because you know it's better than an engine, and you know, it's good to know where they are for peace of mind. So yeah, do check your valve clearances and adjust if needed. And yeah, so that's that. Moving down, another bit of gold here, clutch slave cylinder. Some people say these are terrible, these standard Aprilia ones. I think they're brilliant. I've never had a problem, only one. And they're very simple, they're very cheap to repair, and they're good. Yes, you can get a bigger bore one, which will give less pressure pulling the clutch lever in, but I'm still surviving in my old age. But yeah, there's bigger ones out there, and it's an easy job to do. Whip it out, clean it up, replace the seal, re-bleed it. Obviously, you've got your oil filter down here, which we all know about. There's another big strainer, coarse strainer, like a big long finger that goes into the tank. It's a good idea to drop that, check that and clean it, make sure it's clean of debris. And also the upgrade to get rid, this is the magnetic drain plug that Aprilia put on their bikes, but the original one is an Allen headed one, and it's such a small Allen head, I can't remember if it's 5mm or 4mm, 5mm. It's really hard to get undo and it's a bit scary, so you can replace that with a KTM one, same as, but far easier to remove. The oil tanks can corrode sometimes. This has a little bit of corrosion on it, so it's going to need attention. Not seen it on the Caponords, more on the Millies. But yeah, okay. Spokes. I don't know why, but they fitted steel nipples on stainless steel spokes and rims, or alloy rims, and they rust. So you can replace them, but what some people do is like what this rear wheel has had done to it. They rub them down and paint them, and it looks as good as new. Cush drive rubbers in the rear here, normally very reliable if they're looked after. Okay, while we're on this side of the engine, fuel hoses and the fuel connectors. These are the ones that connect, flow and return to the fuel tank. And Aprilia put plastic ones on, but like I said earlier, they want them changing every 4 years. So yeah, they'll snap, and these are the culprits that cause your bike to catch fire. They'll be pumping petrol out, or one of these will be pumping petrol out at 45 psi on your bike. So you need to change them. They're a must. 3-phase generator wires, the connections. So there was a connector in there that's been cut and spliced out, and there's another connector near the regulator and rectifier. So this is what the connector looked like near the regulator and rectifier. Can you see the one on the right starting to burn with heat? And that was caused by the connector in there that had gone all green, corresponding one to that one there, gone all green. And yeah, so it was messing around with the resistance, so that need to be cut out. Also, while we're on connectors and sensors, the speed sensor on the rear, this casing can come sometimes split or degrade, and it can be re-sleeved if you get to it in time. If not, it's going to mess around with your speed sensor, because it uses these and this to measure the speed. Okay, clutch release bearing. Inside here there's a little bad boy like this. Every time you pull your clutch lever in, it's spinning round. If this is to let go, there you go, there's the bearing number. If this is to let go, all this metal and balls is going to be circulating around your engine. So that's another good preventative maintenance. While you're in there, you could even change the black diaphragm for the very crude slipper clutch. For the extra money, it might be worth doing. Obviously your coolant, straightforward, it's a normal change. So that's about it down here. But up here, obviously we've got the battery. Now a lot of people end up changing sprag clutches on these type of bikes, and normally it's because they're running a poor battery or a poor state of health on their battery, or high resistance on the cables going to the starter motor, etc, etc. Can get upgraded looms, you can put extra earths in and so forth, and extra powers in. I put extra power and earth to my starter motor. I think you can get a 220 C8 battery for these bikes now, and I think maybe they came out with a 180 or a 200, so gives you that extra kick on startup. Okay, all the connectors should be cleaned and re-greased, like these ones in here, all the main ones under the engine with dielectric grease. And we have the ignition coils. There's two here for the rear, and there's two underneath the airbox near the radiator, which are a bit harder to get to. These do fail. I've had one fail on one of my bikes. You can replace them with a Renault V6 ones, as long as you can get the HT male connectors, female connectors to fit. It's not a big deal in some ways if one does fail, because they're twin plug heads. One plug does the main burn and one cleans up, so you can swap them around and get yourself home. I've known people running with one plug and it's absolutely fine, and you won't even know. Some people don't even notice it when it's the one that just does the cleanup. If it's the main one that does the main burn, they will notice it. You'll think you've lost horsepower. Also, another thing to be vigilant about is the connector that goes into the fuel tank. It goes through like a potable connection, and sometimes the connectors break down, so that's something to be aware of. And while we're in the fuel tank, I know we spoke about it, but also they are susceptible because they're resin, some sorts of growing when the ethanol in the fuel, because we're at E10 and E5 in the UK, the ethanol will cause the tank to swell, so it might be awkward to fit. If you take the fuel pump off, which happened to me on this bike, took the fuel pump off to the service, couldn't get the flange bolts to line up and had to dry it out. So that's another thing to be wary of. Also, while we're talking about the batteries, always, if you're not using the bike, keep it on the tender, and obviously then you've got the best chance of a startup. Also, this bike is blessed with a centre stand, and anybody ever tried putting one on and off a centre stand, unless you're Hercules, it's quite a job. So I ended up with mine welding a brace from there to there, because this started cracking. So I wanted to keep the centre stand and carry on using it. Another thing, this little chain guide here, this is the upgraded one. The one before this was like a round roller, so it ended there. So this one extends, so it literally kind of lifts the chain up, so it makes it a lot noisier, keeps it running smoother and sweeter. So I think that's roughly about it, you know. Yeah, that's roughly about it. If you want to bomb-proof your bike, future-proof it for 2026, those little things will keep your bike running sweet. And when all these other modern bikes have failed with their electronics, gizmos, this bike will still be racking up the miles, hopefully. I think, I'm not going to mention him, but there's a gentleman I know, and he's getting on for nearly 200,000 miles on his bike with simple maintenance. You know, he's had to replace brakes and discs along the way because they all do wear out. So yeah, I hope this helps people to give this bike a second chance. It's not a bad bike. Yeah, the plastic fuel connectors, that was a bad idea from Aprilia. Whether somebody was cheaping out or what, I don't know. The clocks are a bit frightening if they do go wrong. Maybe there's an aftermarket display that we could fit on there, you know, sort of jazz it up a bit. that would be quite nice. But all in all, this is a really good bike to look after and preserve and bulletproof. Yeah, so any questions, please do ask. I'm happy to answer questions if I know the answers. And yeah, carry on Caponords. Thank you very much.